me where you from. Baby, I come from the low. With some trappers you ain't know. One up top up in that glizzy, dog and coca on the road. I'm just watching for the troopers trying to make it to the O. Hit the trap, bust it down. Junkie say he wants some more. Play the block like I'm Shaq, but I shoot like I'm cold.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Rel Off the Hill. I have a friend here with me for this one. His name's Lucio.
How y'all doing?
I've known Lucio since 2016.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah. Do you remember how we met?
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met your dad first.
Absolutely.
I just started working at Amsterdam, which is crazy because I don't think I told you the story of how I got started working at Amsterdam.
No, I don't think you ever did.
So, it was 2016. I decided to stay in Boise, and I was like, I'm not going back home to New York. I'm not going to go live on a bunk bed with my little brother, and I'm not doing that because here everything is easy to get to for the most part. Out there, it's like train, this, that. It's just, it's a lot, especially without a car. A lot of people don't drive in New York, and I did it, and I didn't have a car, so it was like, nah, because we lived so far away. But I decided to stay, and I was doing some stuff with this lady on the side just to earn a couple extra bucks. And then one day I stumbled into Amsterdam on my birthday for my birthday shot. I think I was turning 22. And I walked out. I'm like, oh, nah, this bar is goofy. I'm never walking back in here. 2 weeks later, literally, or probably on the 20th of that June in 2016, I started working there. I got hired on the spot by Munson. And then I ended up working that day, closing that day. The next day I opened and closed by myself. I'm just like, yo, y'all put me in a trench. Like, it wasn't nice. But it's a learning curve. I liked it and I enjoyed it. And then you guys opened up your restaurant right next door. And then your dad was like, hey, who are you? What's your name? I, introduced myself. He was like, hey, if you bring some people to us, I'll give you free tacos. Because at this time, I was the guest, is what they wanted to call it at the time, not a security guard, because they wanted to be. Munson was like, I wanted to be more formal. So he was like, send people my way, I'll give you some free tacos and stuff, and that's kind of how I met him. And then just sent people you guys' way, and this is when, especially when you guys were doing like the outside grilling in the summer and stuff, and till like 3 a.m, you guys were always busy.
Hell yeah.
So and that's when I met him, and it's just sending people there all the time, and obviously getting free tacos.
Yeah, there was a lot of tacos after 3 a.m. downtown, man.
Yeah,
that was a spot for a minute. It was,
and that's before the taco truck was there over near Silly Birch too.
Yeah. I mean, it was wild, man. It was, 2 a.m. You guys kick everybody out that freaking club, and Hannah's kick everybody out, and they're just hungry, man.
And you just smell around the patio, so you're on the patio looking at carne asada. You're like, oh damn, So that's what it was like. Because I remember going there, like we kicked everyone out. I'm like, I'm grabbing some tacos real quick. I was telling them, hey, I need like 5. When everyone's out, come in, and it's like no problem beneath this, and cool. So, but yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, man, staying up till 4 a.m. I remember those days, man.
I hated the 4 a.m. part, but
yeah,
the rest, everything else was good.
Yeah, it was fun. Working downtown was a different beast, if you know what I mean, especially in the industry. Yeah. It was fun to have that moment. I think I'll never forget what I learned down there. It was like, man, we out here hustling.
Yeah.
Slinging tacos till 4 a.m. That was a lot of work. Shout out to the staff, man, that did that with me. That was crazy.
It was
Andres.
Yes,
Andres and Norma were there all the time.
The wife and husband. Yes.
Yeah, they were there all the time. They help us at our Glenwood location still too.
In Garden City.
Yeah, in Garden City.
So yeah, let people. Just so everyone's aware, this is one of the owners of
El Gallo Giro.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
sure.
And it's a really good place to go and eat tacos at Birria Tacos, for sure. Because that's my spot for the birria.
We hang our hat on great food, great service, man, and that's all it is. And so we're little authentic mom and pop shop. You know, we're still growing. We've been in the valley for 26 years. We've had 5 locations, you know, all over the valley with the Gallo Giro brand. And before that, my dad had a brand called Acapulco that he started in 1987. And by 1997, he had 13 restaurants.
So you said you guys been in the valley for 26 years.
With the Gallo Giro brand.
Yes, I can't. I don't got that. I don't got that R on my
Come
tongue.
on,
not
Papi,
yet.
you
Not
know you
yet. Not yet. Tell me how you guys got here. Like, how did you guys migrate? Because I'm assuming, did you live in Mexico for a little bit?
So let me just tell you the story real quick. I was born in Michoacan, Mexico. My sister was born here, and my brother was born here.
Oh, you're the OG.
You know, I would say I was the lucky one, right? Just one of those things that happened throughout my dad's and mom's story, right? They were first-generation immigrants. My dad was an illegal immigrant, so was my mom. They came here, you know, looking for a better opportunity. My dad was in L.A. He was working for a restaurant called the Red Onion, which was in Redondo Beach, California. And it was really popular, still really well known, you know, especially older demographic. If you ask them if they're from California and you bring up the Red Onion, a lot of people know that place. You know, and things happened that were just kind of, you know, kind of meant to be, or divine intervention, or however you want to call it. My uncle, my tío Mario, he's the one that kind of started the whole journey, right? He had restaurants in Guadalajara, and he was like, I'm going to LA, right?
And this was in Mexico.
Yeah, and this was in Mexico.
And he wasn't a citizen.
He wasn't a citizen, and he was like, I'm going to LA. He's one of my dad's older brothers. He's like, well, I'm coming with you, you know, and they end up here. My dad starts working as a dishwasher, works his way up to line cook. Next thing you know, he's managing restaurants, and
this was probably like
this is the 70s, you know. So
your dad, how old is your dad?
My dad's 72.
Yeah, this is probably like the 60s.
Late 60s, early 70s, man.
And
so he was living it up. He said he loved it. You know, he was in a band. He shows us pictures. They were playing Friday night, Saturday night at the bars. You know, he was having a good time. But you know, randomly this guy shows up and tells him, hey, we're opening a Mexican restaurant in Idaho, and I'm looking for somebody to help me run the kitchen. Are you interested? My dad said, shit, well, why not? You know, worst case scenario, this guy tells me he's going to fly me up there. He's going to pay for it. You know, all I got to do is run the restaurant and do what I'm doing here. If I don't like it, I can come back, right?
Oh, so a guy from Idaho was just randomly visiting.
They're from Arizona, I believe.
Okay.
They were like opening a big restaurant, and here it was like a chain. There was 2 of them that he helped open. One was Cafe Olé in downtown Boise, and then the other one was called Casablanca.
Wow.
So my dad ends up here, right? And we're from a real small town in Mexico called Tacascuaro, Michoacan, you know, tiny town. Kind of reminded him of home, just slower pace, right? Nice place. Everybody was real nice to him. He started bringing up his boys from California. They were running these kitchens. A man named Jeff Casey, who was the owner of the Cafe Olé, ended up giving my dad an opportunity, right? And my dad just ran with it. In 1987, he opened his first restaurant called Acapulco, which sat on Chinden and Glenwood, kind of where our Gallo Giro is now, across from the fairgrounds. And he opened 10 of those in a span of 10 years. He had them all over the valley, Nampa, Caldwell. You know, he was just doing his thing. I still don't know how. You know, I think about it all the time. I'm like, how did he open one every year? And it took him a while. I mean, I don't think he opened the one in Caldwell till 93, 94, if my math was right.
But he still had others open. If he opened 10 in 10 years.
Yeah, and he was doing his thing. And these were big restaurants. I saw an article that was hanging in my bedroom in the Statesman from '93, and it was like at his Boise location, the Acapulco in its prime had 93 employees. That's a ton of employees for a restaurant, and they were all roughly that same size. So I think the average employee, for each one of those restaurants had to be 60, 70 employees, and he had 10 of them. So he was running around with somewhere near 700, 1,000 employees at any given time. Yeah. And it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, but the man had a charisma about him, right? As the kids say, the Riz was real, bro. He was really, and he still is, man. He's very charismatic. I mean, you know him. He's very charismatic. He's a very smart businessman. First thing he said to you, as our neighbor, was, hey, send him our way and you'll get free tacos. The guy knows what he's doing. I've seen him hustle my whole life, but I don't think I learned to appreciate it as much until
you got a little older.
I got older and I opened my own, right? Mm-hmm. Because then you actually see the work that goes into it. And then you realize, oh, my goodness, wow, this man had to do this much. And I never heard him complain once, right? Him and my mom just did it. And it was like, what the heck? Yeah. And so, now I have a deeper respect for it. An understanding of it that I didn't have before. An
appreciation.
And definitely a big time appreciation, because this is an amazing thing. I mean, he created a legacy, because of what he was able to do and because of his hustle and because of his grind and because of the people that followed him and, the people that were loyal to him. He had a lot of people work for him, but a lot of family, very grateful for his brothers and his cousin that helped him get going and, produce these things, and his older brother that had just a way of making things. A lot of our recipes come from, my uncles, my aunts, godfather, parents, grandparents, etc. You name it, and it's all influenced based on, where we're from. So mm-hmm. it's a really cool concept to see all of that come to fruition and, see his playbook and see how he did everything. You take it for granted growing up, and you for sure don't see all the things that you think you see, because even working in the restaurant, from a little kid all the way up to where I'm in now, I thought I saw everything, and I thought I knew how to run a restaurant. When I opened mine, I thought for sure I was just going to kill it, man. But life has a way of humbling you, and it's really, it's cool to be a part of it. It's cool to be a part of the legacy and go to work every day and fill your passion bucket, man. I get to do that every single day. It's taken me a long time to kind of appreciate that, because everybody hates their job at one point because they look at it as a job. But it got to a point where, man, this isn't just a job anymore. This is, this is who we are. This is family shit now, Yeah. So for me, it's cool. It's an honor to be named after him, to be able to do it, to even be mentioned in the same name in breath as him, and say, hey, you're a business owner too, right? They always say work so hard that your mentors become your business partners, and I achieved that, so that's a really cool thing for me, and it's one of my greatest achievements.
And he's your dad.
And he's my dad.
Yeah.
So it's even cooler.
Your padre.
Yeah, absolutely. But, overall, man, it's been a wild ride. We opened the Gallo Giro in 1997. He closed the Acapulco. I asked him just a few weeks ago, actually, why he closed it. And he said, man, it just got out of hand. He was like, it got out of my control. Bartenders were stealing from me. It was hard to trust people. I had too many employees, and I was invested in other things, and I was kind of burnt out too. I can imagine working that hard. I never really saw him growing up, right? You go to sporting events, and you'd look at the sideline. My mom was always there, but dad was handling business. And that's the part where you as a kid almost resent, right? Because you're like, man, why couldn't you been there? What was going on? And he made it to where when he could, but now you look at it and you realize, damn, look at where he set me up to be now, right?
Yeah.
Now I know, and that's like, well, damn, that's awesome that my dad was willing to work that hard and sacrifice that much. And even at 72, man, this man's still putting in work. I was just at his house a couple Sundays ago, and he tells me I'm going to do a taco truck event. And I said, why? And he said, oh, your nephew, Jose, he's down in college now, and he may need a little money, so I'm going to go do this taco truck event and send him a little cash. And I'm looking at him like, dude, his mom ain't even doing that. Like,
Yeah.
you're over here still doing what you are. And that's what I love about my dad and I appreciate about him. He just, no matter how successful he got, how much money he got, he's still just my dad, and he's still just a humble man. He's just really just wants to take care of family, right? And always puts that first. Family, faith, and football is, our three pillars. And I think he really taught us well, and to really kind of respect that. And so I really love that about the man. I could talk about him all day, to be honest with you. He's earned a lot of my respect.
That's good. That's dope. And that's good that, growing up, you see it, you're like, man. But based on what you said, you was looking at it from the outside looking in. Now you're looking at it from the inside looking out, from his point of view. And you have a better appreciation and understanding of why, at certain points where he wasn't there for the games, because he, like you said, he was putting food on the table for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, there was many nights where he was, I remember one night I hid in the back seat of my mom's car, right? They thought they had put me to bed, but I was smart. I had seen the routine already. My mom would pretend to, put me to bed or try to make me go to bed because she was going to go, because they had these Latino nights, right? Because this is before they had any Latin clubs or any kind of, and they were just throwing big ass parties in that restaurant, late night, bottle service before bottle service, right? This is early 90s, man. I see these pictures, with Red Wolf beer being sold. You got the old school Miller Lite bottles, the old school vending machine for cigarettes, bro. Those are the things I remember about my dad's Acapulco bar, the pool table and the DJ setup. And I mean, it was wild. They would get wild. And I would hide in the back seat of the car because I didn't want my mom to leave, right? Because it was always like, oh shit, she's leaving again, and we're going to be left alone with the babysitter or whatever. And so I would hide in the backseat of the car, and then I'd pop out and be like, here I am. And I would stay there at the restaurant with them until 4 a.m, while they did their thing, and then they cleaned up. And then they'd get up again. And this is what I'm saying. They go to bed at 4 a.m. They get up again at 7, and they're back at the grind, man, and they're not missing a step, right? And I'm thinking, how did my dad do this with 3 kids, a wife, and he didn't even speak English, man? And he was still just hustling. But he put in the work. And that was the big thing, is he embraced the suck, and he got to where he's at because he embraced the suck.
The tough times. The tough times don't last. Tough people do.
Yeah, he said one story that he told me was when he had a manager that was brought up from California that just treated Mexicans like shit at the Cafe Olé. And he made my dad wear a beeper, because the only thing my dad ever asked for them was to have some time Saturday morning so he could play soccer, right? And he was a goalie. And he said that this particular manager made him wear his beeper. And if he got a 911 call from that manager, he had to come in no matter what, even if he was playing soccer, right? And the guy knew my dad was playing soccer, Saturday mornings. And he would just blow my dad up nonstop. And my dad said he never complained once to the owner, never said a damn thing, never lifted a voice, just worked through it, put in the hours. Eventually that guy got fired. Eventually my dad took his job. Eventually my dad became who he is now, right? And it was just like, he didn't blame any of the circumstances. He could have been a victim of the circumstance, but he chose to just work, right? And put in the work. And I think that's a huge lesson.
Yeah. It's crazy how you said that your dad and his brother, your uncle, moved from Mexico to go to LA, and the person who was living in Arizona, and then they wanted to open in Cafe Olé in
Casablanca. Yep.
So was that location their first one ever?
I don't know that for sure, but I know that it was the first one in Idaho, right? And
it is a chain.
I believe so. I'm not 100%.
It might have been small because that was the 70s.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly, but I do know that my dad absolutely has the utmost respect for the man, Jeff Casey, and his family, because even when I opened mine in Meridian out here, that was the very first thing that he said to me. He goes, "Man, I really hope the Casey family doesn't get upset with us because we're opening across the street from a Cafe au lait." You know, because he had that much respect for them. I mean, and what they did for him, and they were a big part of the reason why we're in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
So,
just about God's timing.
yeah,
Him
absolutely.
just being in LA and that guy just being there, rarely seeing him and being like, "Hey, I need you."
Right.
Kind of like a draft pick, number one.
Right.
So-
Exactly. And it's crazy because all that thing spirals and you speed it up now, and you would never imagine that it would have created all of what it did. But even, I have a few of acquaintances now that have worked for Cafe au lait, and I've told them, hey, mention the name Lucio Prado to the Casey family. And they're like, man, they come back and they cannot say enough good things about him. That Lucio basically saved their restaurants and, made them what they were. So that's pretty neat to hear, and that my dad's earned that respect on a credible level from a lot of people.
He opened the first one in Idaho, and he saw an opportunity and decided to do his own. So he wasn't the first Mexican restaurant in Idaho. He was the second.
I don't know how many were probably around back then. I couldn't tell you. I just know that there was very limited. I think maybe Chapala was around.
Well, I'm going to say authentic. Probably. I would say probably authentic. Not a chain but actually authentic.
Yeah, like a mom and pop restaurant for sure.
Yeah,
I definitely know that he was one of the very first ones, if not the first, to be what it was and be that big and to be that successful. People recognize him as the godfather of Mexican food around here, and he did so much for the Hispanic community. He helped bring the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to life. He helped bring the Mexican commerce here to Idaho. He wrote a song about Idaho that's actually in 4th grade textbooks. So when you learn about Idaho history, his song pops up, his corrido, which is really, really cool.
He's a pioneer.
He is very much a pioneer. He very much created a standard, right? He had a dream, he had a vision, and that dream lives on now. And you see the amount of people that he's influenced and he's been able to help, and the ability that they've had to succeed. A lot of them give my dad credit for teaching him or teaching them how to operate a business, not just a restaurant.
That is dope. That is really dope. Came here with nothing, worked hard, worked smart, took a chance on himself.
Bet on himself, man.
Bet on himself. And then even some people say you fail or you learn, but the people say in order for you to succeed, you have to fail. And when you fail, you learn. When you learn, you succeed. So I guess people don't like to use the word fail, but he, like you said, he had to work through that issue with that bad manager that he hated.
Right.
But he could have just said, I'm not working here no more. I can't do it with this guy.
Oh yeah, and he
thugged it out.
Yeah, and that's been his mantra, like, consistently hearing his stories over and over, it's just always about saying, you know what, dude, there's going to be problems. Life is going to give you problems, right? Like, it's how you embrace the problem. Either you're the victim or you conquer it, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't see any victims winning, right? I don't see yourself, if you're sitting on the side of the road crying because you're broke and you got no money and can't figure out life, that's not going to get you anywhere. It might make you feel good for a minute, but it's not going to get you anywhere. And I'm not saying there's no room for that. I'm just saying you got to get to a point where you pull yourself up, right? Because ain't nobody going to come save you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things, you realize in life, ain't nobody coming through that door to do your work for you. Yep. Ain't nobody going to take care of you like you got to take care of you. And, I was blessed with two of the best people to be my parents, right? And my biggest thing that I've always thought growing up was they're going to take care of me till I'm old, right? And then something happens when you get older and you watch them get older and you say, no, I'm going to
I'll
take care of them.
Yep.
Right. And once that happens, you just want the best for them, right? Like, you don't want them to work anymore. You don't want them to struggle. You don't want them to have problems anymore, right?
You only get one mom and one dad. You know, some people fortunate enough to get maybe a stepdad or a stepmom, but you only get one mom and one dad. And
Absolutely.
if you're fortunate enough to see them grow old, you know, you definitely want to provide for them as long as you guys obviously have that good relationship and stuff. But
yeah, and we're a tenacious family, man, because oh, God knows how many times we've just got after each other over the business, man. The business is brutal, right? The business side of things is brutal, and it is real. You know, when you have a businessman like my father, dude, it's brutal. He's not going to take it easy on you. I mean, he will straight up be an asshole, right? And he's going to tell you.
I've only seen him be nice.
Well, because he's, you know, you're a guest.
Yeah.
But it's different when you're, you know, a player in the game.
Yeah.
When I hated it growing up, I was like, man, this guy I can never please him, right? Like, my whole, like, life, I was like, can you just tell me you're proud of me? Like, God damn, what do I got to do, right? But then it hits you. It's like, he just wants you to work as hard as he did. He just wants you to, you know, show up. Like, he don't care about any accolades I get, right? Like, what he cares about is if I'm happy doing what I do. And that's it. And that's one of the coolest things I think I figured out about my dad and you know, being a Latino and Mexican and that macho kind of background that, you know, first generation Mexicans have. It's not a lot of I love yous, you know, back and forth. It's like, échale ganas, mijo, you know, put in the work, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's like, damn, I am, right? Like, I am. I swear I am. But what else can I do, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, you finally figure out what that échale ganas means. It means it's just always going to be that way, man. And it's okay if you feel overwhelmed, or it's okay if you feel frustrated, you know? But you got to work through it. Because I did. I had all these things. I had all these problems. You know, now at 72, I just want to chill. I want to take care of my health. I want to hang out with my wife.
Yeah.
I want to live in Mexico. You know, I don't want to sit here and deal with the same problems I already dealt with once.
Yeah, for the last 50 years.
For the last 50 years, right? And he won Small Businessman of the Year for the state of Idaho in 2007.
That's dope.
Yeah, he's won a lot of accolades. He's got a lot of respect in the community. And I think ultimately that's one of the things you got to look back at and say, damn, you know, he's on a Hall of Fame level, if you will, of things. And that's really cool to sit there and say, man, you got a Hall of Famer in the family.
Yeah. I
was working since I was, as far as I can remember, I was dancing for quarters in the Acapulco when my dad was playing in the mariachi band, because he's also an artist, right? He plays music. And so he started Idaho's first mariachi band. Yeah. And so I'd just go in there and I'd be dancing, trying to get quarters so I can go play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Street Fighter in the back, right? And I mean, that's how it always was. Like, we always just worked with my dad, or always just helped him do whatever, right? And it's crazy because you hear about my other cousins who also had family, you know, their dads owned restaurants. Nowhere near it, bro. Nowhere near it. Wouldn't work with them. And I know why. Because of the battles, you know, and that ruthless business culture, because that's what it is, dude. It's ruthless, and it's really hard to separate being a dad from a business owner, right? Especially when your son's working in the business. He's no longer your son. Your wife's working in the business. She's no longer your wife. When she walks through that door, she's an employee, right? He's an employee, and they got to set the standard, if not higher, then maintain the standard, because they're your family. And if they ain't going to have your back, then ain't nobody going to have your back, right?
That's true. So when your dad moved here, how was the trend? Well, you were conceived, I would say, in L.A.?
I probably was conceived in Idaho. So that's one story that I don't know 100% what happened. I know my parents were battling immigration during this time period. So my mom ended up because I'm a middle child. So my sister was born here at St. Luke's downtown, right? I was conceived here. My mom probably got deported or left to Mexico, one of the two. So I ended up being born down there. They brought me up at a really young age, about a year old, right? So I can't say I grew up in Mexico. I can say that I was really blessed to go back every year. Since I was, probably 4 or 5 years old that I can remember, we would go back and we would spend time in Mexico, whether it would be a month, 2 months, 3 months over the summer, whatever my dad could do. More than likely, it was over Christmas break that we would go, and we would drive down there. And because I was born in Mexico, I used my cousin's birth certificate to get to and from through the border, because back then you could use a birth certificate, right? And my cousin was born in Lewiston, Idaho, one of my dad's brothers. Just kind of a crazy world, right? It's like flip-flop. My dad's brother, Guillermo, was living in Lewiston because they opened a Cafe Ole in Lewiston together, right? And so my
Your dad and your brother?
my dad and his brother, yeah.
Wow.
So that was part of the whole thing. So they were in Lewiston. My uncle has his son. Meanwhile, my mom's in Mexico. She has me. So I would use his birth certificate to cross over and, come back and forth until I got my documentation when I was in 7th grade or so. It was 1994 when my dad got his citizenship.
I was born that year.
So, yeah, it was, I had to be I was either 10, 11 years old, when I got my citizenship. Because once my dad got his, my mom got his, they had a big legal battle. Because back then, man, the Casey family recognized what my dad was doing. I mean, if, he was working his ass off and he was providing and he was doing whatever he could for his family. So they married him to a white woman for documentation, right? And at that time, it was just what everybody was doing. But, people started pointing fingers at my dad. He got into a huge legal battle. Next thing you know, he's like tied up in litigation, right? So from like 1987 till 1994, my dad is like paying a lawyer on retainer to just battle this immigration thing. And he said it was 10th of May. The immigration lawyer called him that year and said, if you're by a window, scream out the window because you're a U.S. citizen and no one can touch you now. And then he just fucking ran with it, But that's the thing. He is just a capitalist, bro. And, at the end of the day, he was a go-getter. And that's what it is, And so I look back and, I mean, there's a lot simpler times, a lot easier times. But, man, back then, he was getting after it, man. If I could put in, 50, 60% of that work, I know I'm going to be successful, So I look at what he laid down the foundation for and where we're at now. It's just amazing, It's crazy. It really is.
He had a lot of challenges that he overcame, figured it out. Although you might stumble, he didn't fall. So that's kudos to your dad. I mean, that's incredible. That really is, especially the arranged marriage part. That's shit you only hear about in the movies, but it does happen, and sometimes for good reason. Your dad, like I'm thinking about it. Your dad came to Idaho to open up the Cafe Ole, and he was doing so well with them. He brought his friends and his other family members from, LA, and I'm going to assume Mexico as well, to come up here. Hey, come work. Just come work. Authentic Mexican food, just come work. And that's what they did, and Cafe Ole was able to grow. Just because your dad being able to bring high quality people that are not going to steal from the business, that's not going to F off. And back in the day, I mean, customer service was completely different than it is now.
Absolutely.
So which is crazy, but that is dope. Yeah, no, your dad is definitely a founding father for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. He's an OG. If you tell him doesn't want any credit, he don't care. He's made it. He's just like, dude, I don't want to tell my story. I don't need to sit down. And so for me, I'm like always trying to tell a story for him, because that's the one thing that I know is that for as many people that he's helped and as many people as who he's influenced to get where he's at, it's not easy, and he deserves all the credit to be known as for what he did and what he's accomplished. I mean, this man on Saturday mornings, Darrell, after he had 10 restaurants, he was getting up and he was doing BSU radio, nonprofit radio in Spanish, because he loved being on the radio, right? So he would get up at 6 a.m. and he's got his businesses, he's got his wife, he's got his kids, and he's going to BSU radio, for 3 hours, 4 hours Saturday morning, and he's DJ Don Lucio Prado on Saturday mornings. And I listened to those freaking tapes, Darrell. I'm gonna tell you, man, when we would go to Mexico, he would listen to himself. This man would listen to himself. That's it. On the radio all the way down to Mexico. We would drive. It was 3 days worth of driving, listening to him on the radio. It was cool, back then I hated it. But, now I think it's so cool because somewhere those cassettes are, saved in my parents' house. And, I got to find myself a nice cassette player that,
you can make those digital now.
Make them digital for him so that he can listen to himself on the radio. Because this man he was that invested in the community, man. He was doing everything. I can't deny it. He never slept. I swear he never slept.
That's incredible. It really is. Your dad is definitely, a one of a kind man for sure. That is definitely for sure. One of you and him are one of Idaho Treasure Valley treasures. So definitely for sure. I know you said he missed a lot of games growing up, and you was playing football. I'm assuming you didn't play soccer.
No.
Well, you played American football.
I played American football.
Okay. So how did that? What position? I want to know. Were you the guy or were you?
No, I was never the guy. I was small, man. I don't even know. I had no business being in American football. But what it was, growing up, being brown, the early 80s in Idaho, there was no other cats that looked like me, right? It was just me and maybe a few other Mexicans here or there. Most of them were in Nampa and Caldwell, and I was one of the few ones growing up here in Boise, right? And we lived, it was BFE, so now it's suburbs, right, out in southeast Boise. But yeah, it was, nothing out there. And we would go to Mexico, and I had a hard time dominating the language, right? So I would speak Spanish when I was down there, and I would forget all my English. When we came back, I couldn't speak English. And when I stayed here long enough, I couldn't speak Spanish anymore. It was really hard for me to dominate both languages growing up, right? Yeah. So going down there, I struggled to speak to my grandmother. The story my mom always loves to tell is that I couldn't tell my grandmother that her rooster had gotten out of the kitchen or the chicken coop, and it was always a mess because the roosters down there, they're gallo giros, right? So they're coming, they're kind of violent. Looking back at it then, rooster, it's just nothing, but you're scared of these things, right? Yeah. As a young kid. And I just come running in and I'm telling my grandma, hey, grandma, the chickens are out. And she's like, Mijo, I don't understand you. Mijo, I don't get what you're saying. And, I just remember those stories because I didn't know how to speak. Right? And it was so hard for me to grasp both languages, which is why it's shocking that I ended up getting a degree in Spanish, right? Because it was just, for me, I was the one kid that struggled with it, and I was the one kid that was born in Mexico, but for whatever reason, grasping both languages was difficult. So making friends in Idaho was hard because I just didn't have a whole connection, right? Things were different. we were totally different from everybody. I didn't look like them. I didn't speak the language. I was really small. And then, you start making a few friends. My best friend that I make is still my best friend today. His name is Benny Johnson, right? This guy was half black, half Mexican. He was the closest thing that even had a connection to my Latin roots.
Yeah.
I met him in kindergarten, became boys, whole life we've been boys. Best friend, best man at his wedding. He played football, he played basketball, he played baseball. And I was like, well, he plays sports. I want to play sports, right? So I signed up for football. I think it was 4th grade. And I get placed on a team called Dillon Auto Parts, man. And this was not Benny's team. I was, on my own. But I'm meeting these dudes and I'm creating an identity for myself, right? Like all of a sudden, like we're working together. There's teamwork. The coaches are teaching us and we're really good. We're winning, Jarrell. We don't lose at all. We don't lose for 3 straight years, Limo rides at the end of the year, trolley rides at the end of the year, parties at my dad's restaurant, Acapulco, for championships. It was so much fun, man. We played Optimus football for 4 years, 3 years undefeated. Last year we only lost 2 games, and that's when size really started to catch up, right? We were tiny, but we had a really good scheme. I played defensive line, outside linebacker, right? Okay. Defensive end. I was quick. They put me at offensive guard if I had to play offense, but it was not my jam, right? Got to Lowell Scott Middle School. We ended up winning. We were part of a 50-0 streak for Lowell Scott Middle School. We didn't lose for like 5 straight years. We were just one of the classes that didn't lose a straight year, right? And I think we were the last class that went undefeated. There was guys on that team like Steve Cook, who's like bodybuilder, big time gym shark now, popular all over the place. And then it was time to go to high school. And, my parents kept telling me to go to Catholic school. And Benny's like, hey, I'm going to BK too. And I'm like, oh shit, just like God is telling me we're going to BK, right? So we went to BK, man, and I would say it was the best experience of my life. It's probably like big part of what made me who I am today. The foundation that school laid for me. I was able to get my bachelor's degrees. I was able to get a master's degree. And school was easy because of the way that school prepared me, right? Like that was school in my undergrad, man. When I was up at U of I and BSU, I never had to study because it was easy. My senior thesis at BK was way harder than half the stuff I had to do up at U of I or at BSU, man. It was just, Gonzaga was a lot different. Gonzaga was definitely harder, but that same stuff that I learned at BK, which was, simply knowing how to research, knowing how to cite, knowing how to actually take basically information and, here's my argument, here's why, here's another thing that supports it, and this is where it comes from, and putting all those things together, I was able to be really good and really blessed with my education. And I credit a lot of that stuff from the foundation that I learned at BK because it was hard. It was every day there was homework. Every day there was an expectation. Yeah. So it was cool for me to go to a private Catholic high school. And I got to go to a public high school. I went for a semester, and that was wild, bro. Freedom was, you could leave whenever you wanted.
Yeah, go off campus.
Go off campus, dude, and you just hang out with the wrong people. We were doing beer bongs at lunch, coming back loaded, dude. I wasn't learning anything. I failed the class. I was quick to get out of that. I was like, no, dude, this is not my kind of jam. I'm not going to graduate high school if I do this. So I went back to BK real quick, man. It's like, nah, right? And you make lifelong friends too. Some of my really good friends are still from BK. So, growing up, it was different, but sports definitely helped bring an identity to me. Really allowed me to just socialize and meet people and learn to work with people and really see a different side of America, which I had never seen before. Right? And it gave me an identity, and it allowed me to, you know, have a connection to them that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I played soccer for a year. It was terrible. We were terrible, and it wasn't fun, right? So a lot of the stuff that I credit football for was just I got placed on the right situation in the right culture with the right team, right? In the right environment. Because that's huge, just like it is now as you grow up, you know, looking for a job and trying to find something. Having that right environment is huge.
Yeah. You know, most kids who have family that owns businesses are typically forced to step into the family business and not go to college. Explain why you made that decision. You know, you did. Like, why did you decide to go off to college? Because you said that you had ISU, BSU, and Gonzaga, and then I think I'm interested to know that.
The propaganda that fed us, man.
Go to college.
Go to college. Go to college. Nah, Mrs. Parker, man. This is how you know this is like how it influenced me. Mrs. Parker, 5th grade, summer in elementary school, man. She did this weird survey thing where she had us all stand up in class, right? Mm-hmm. So we all stood up, and she's like, "All right, half of you guys sit down." Well, all right, let me rephrase it. She says, all of us were standing up. She goes, "This is how, you guys all graduated from high school, right?" And she goes like, "All right, half of you guys sit down." She goes, "This is the half that's going to go to college for a year, right?" Mm-hmm. And I was in part of that class that was still standing up. And then she goes, "Okay, half of you sit down again, right?" And she repeated the process until she got to the end, and I was the last one standing. And she goes, "At everybody here, here's the one person that's going to get his master's degree out of the entire class." So that's the odds or the percentage of people getting their master's degree, right? And I don't know. I just put that chip on my shoulder and said, "No, I'm going to be that guy. Yeah, I'm going to be that guy. No matter what, Miss Parker chose me, whatever it was, I'm going to go to school," right? I didn't have a plan. I had no idea what I was going to do or what I was going to be or who I wanted to be even when I graduated high school. But I knew I wanted an experience, right? Like I wanted to live my life, right? So when it came down to going to school, I was dating a girl, my high school sweetheart, Jennifer Drozda. And it was like, you apply for scholarships. I had gone to the Idaho Youth Symposium out in Sun Valley. I had won some scholarships. BSU was going to be the cheaper move for me to go there. Yeah. Pretty much everything was going to get paid for, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do that because it's just cheaper. My girl at the time was like, well, I'm going to U of I. I'm joining a sorority. I'm doing this. So I go to visit her, right? And the fucking party up there at the Pike House was insane, dude. It was like shit off of fucking movies, right? Van Wilder shit. And I'm like, holy cow. I'm living at home in my mom's fucking basement still. Like, I never meet anybody because BSU is a commuter school. There ain't nobody that's even really my age at that time. Even my boys that were living in the dorms, it was like, there's like no parties like this down at BSU, right? And I'm thinking, damn, dude.
Still no parties like that.
And so I was like, what am I doing? So I'm like, I'm going to U of I. I'm transferring. Yeah. And I'm joining a frat house. Yeah, and I'm joining the Pike House. Because I went to that party, dude, and it was fucking off the hook. And I want to be a part of that. So I snap, or whatever they call it, at semester. Joined the frat house. I fucking loved it, man. Me and my boys up there. It was a different lifestyle, man. Yeah. My dad and my mom were like, what are you doing? Why are you living like this? Like, you don't need to live like this. The house was, trashed all the time.
Oh, when they came to visit?
Yeah, it was just trashed all the time.
Nobody
right?
took trash out.
No, dude.
3 days, pizza box. Still left out.
It's so bad. Like, looking back, I don't know how we lived there, but, you're 19, so shit don't matter, really.
Yeah.
It's just like, we live here and we go to school here, and this is what we're doing. It was different because, again, I was the only Mexican dude in the entire house. And we come into a, house of 80 guys. All of them are white dudes. They all have different perspectives. They think they can call me Beaner. They think they get away with certain shit, right? Because that's how they talked before I moved in the house. Dude, next thing you know, it's like, no, we settle things, and we do an all-house meeting every Monday. We settle things by boxing. And I'm like, oh, fuck. It's like, if you got a complaint, you do it now. You grab the gloves, and you settle it like men now, and we stomp it out, right? Dude, I had a box like 3 different times before I got respected in that house, right? Next thing you know, like, people were like, damn, Lucio fucking knocked that dude out. Fucking can't believe that. And it's like, fuck, I couldn't believe it either, right? Like,
Yeah.
But you earn a little respect that way. And my dad told me, probably the best advice that I ever heard in my life. And it's like what we said earlier. When you bet on yourself, you never lose, right? And so I was up there for 2.5 years. I lived it, dude. I partied my ass off, lived in a frat house, did the whole damn thing, right? Probably too many stories to tell about that life. I failed my first Spanish class, though. Spanish 412, syntax and grammar, dude. Hardest class I ever took as an undergrad because I was a native Spanish speaker. It's like English grammar, right? Like,
Yeah, and that's the hard part is
people don't get that. Like, the grammar part of it is hard. Like,
Yeah.
I don't write it. I don't,
I speak it.
I speak the shit out of it just like we speak English, but
I got to know how to write it.
I got to know how to write it. And I was like, damn, this class sucked. And
read it.
And read it. And I could read it pretty well, but I couldn't. Like, the hard part was the test, because when it came to the test, it wasn't like natural speaking, right? It was like, what's the subjective of the word, whatever.
And you're like,
what the fuck does subjective mean? Like, what is subjunctive? Like, what do you mean? What is that?
I'm not gonna need the subjective.
Yeah. And what it was, and then they're like, what is the past present of this? And you're like, motherfucker, you just said past present. Like, that doesn't even make sense, right? Like, why? What are you talking about? But it was just my effort too. I wasn't putting in the effort. I wasn't showing up to class. I was kind of over it at that point. You'd partied for 2.5 years. You'd done it, right? I had the experience I wanted. So I was ready to go home and just kind of dial in and kind of get a degree, because I was like, I want to graduate in 4 years. I don't want to spend any extra money.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right? So I came home the end of my junior year. A couple credits didn't transfer, things like that. I went to my advisor, and she goes, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to coach ball. That's what I want to do, because I've been coaching ball. When I was up at U of I got into a coaching football class. I had played high school football. I played football for so long, man, and it's just like, it was one of those things that it never left my life, right? I was just always a part of it. And so I get into this class. I start learning the X's and O's. We were driving, hour and a half to trade film with teams up there.
Yeah.
This is VHS days, right?
Yep.
So it was different. No, this was a lot different than how it is done now. And then we were breaking stuff down. We were the advanced analytic guys. So, like, our assignments for the class, Darrell, was like me, you, and Homeboy were paired in a group, right? And we were going to go get film from Potluck. And we had to break down the first quarter of the game. We had to do coming out from the 20, from the 20 to the 20, from the 20 going in, first down on the left hash, first down on the right hash, first down in the middle of the field. What did they run? What personnel groups did they have? So basically just doing all of the data mining for them, right?
Yeah.
And then we would turn that into the high school coaches. And next thing you know, I'm on a staff, as a data analyst or whatever you would call it. Then I worked my way up. I'm coaching D-line. I coached outside backers. I come home, and I take a job in Payette with a man named Troy Gleave. Troy was amazing to take a chance on me, and I become his O-line, D-line coach, defensive coordinator / assistant coach, whatever, out in Payette. Guy just mentors me, shows me a bunch of stuff, tells me, hey, have you thought about getting your master's? And I'm like, shit. Yeah, I have. And he's like, well, you should think about going to Gonzaga. They have a great athletic department program. You should be an AD. So I was like, all right. So I take the GRE, I score on it, do pretty well, get into Gonzaga. His letter of recommendation had a lot to do with it. I've spent 2.5 years going through that cohort. I graduate with a master's in sports and athletic administration degree. I have 3 bachelor's degrees, one in Spanish, one in communication, one in English with an emphasis in journalism. I was the beat writer for Boise State football, the beat writer for Boise State basketball. I was trying to get out of the restaurant, right? Like I was doing everything I could not to have to be a entrepreneur, if you will.
Yeah. What you know about basketball, though?
I know enough.
You know, okay. Yeah, I hear you. And look where you was running from, and look where you ended up at.
Because, you know,
Right where
Jarrell,
you started.
yeah, because you make plans and God loves to change them,
Yes.
right?
Or maybe God didn't change the plans.
I
He
needed
just
the
said,
experience.
You just gotta, you gotta go live your life, create your own destiny.
I needed the experience for myself because I needed to prove to myself that I didn't need the restaurant, right? The restaurant needed me, right? On top of that, when we were downtown, I didn't have a liquor license,
Yeah.
right? They're expensive. Idaho's got weird rules on them, right? So
Sorry, I'm yawning. Sorry, Gabe.
you look at it and you say, man, well, it wasn't meant for me to be. And I actually went to Seattle, and this was like 2018, 2019, February 2019. I went to a coaches conference. I was coaching Centennial High School at the time, and we had an off season. And I was going up there for a coaches conference, and I walked into a room, and this speaker, man, he touched me. You know, he was like, man, if you're gonna do this, this is a calling. This is not everybody does this. It's not for the money. You love the kids. You love the game. You are a mentor. Like, if you're gonna do this, you need to jump into it. You need to, be all in or get out.
Yeah.
So I went home and I told my dad that February, hey, this is going to be my last. This is it. I'm just going to help you with the caterings. I'm done working downtown. Like, I'm out. Like, I'm betting on myself and I'm leaving, right? I thought my dad was going to take it real hard. He was, all right, son, I'm proud of you. I'm hoping that, it works out for you. So I'm helping him all this summer. I'm basically looking for jobs. I have interviews lined up with Ontario High School to, basically take over their athletic department, be their AD out there. It's going to pay for my student loans. It's going to be what I want. Still close enough to home where I can still live in Boise. Nothing's going to change really for me. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, this is the move for me, right? This is the first move I'm going to make. And then at the end of July that year, early August, I get awarded a liquor license in the city of Meridian. And I'm like, this motherfucker, right? And I call my dad and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, son, you hit the lottery. And I'll never forget that. He said, son, you hit the lottery. And I said, but why now? Like, in my head, you'd think, why did this all have to happen now? I got all these other things lined up. This is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. But it happened. And I had 2 choices in that moment, right? Take the asset and run with everything that I've been taught from my parents, or push it away and go do what I've been working on, right? Yeah. And at the time, I was like, I can still do both, right? I can still do both. I'm fooling myself. So I tell my dad, well, what's it going to take to franchise? How's this all going to work out? Right? He's like, well, first we got to find you a restaurant. Like, we got to find a location for you because you don't have the money to open up one by yourself. There's things cost $1 million if you want to open up a brand new restaurant with no kitchen, nothing built in. So we start looking, and because of his connections, he finds the place in Meridian where we're at now,
which is
1435 North Eagle Road,
which is adjacent to the village.
Adjacent to the village, across the street from the new Albertsons, right next to Lucky Finn's and Red Robin. And I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at this landlord, and he's looking at me. His name is Joe, and he's like, You sure you want to do this? And I'm like, what else the fuck am I going to do now? Like, I'm in. Like, I'm all in now, right? And man, here we are now, 5 years later. I'll be 5 in January. There's been an array of emotions, right? An array of learning. I've been humbled several times. COVID is a beast, and it did a lot of things to us.
A lot of things to everyone.
Thankful for the PPP loans. Thankful for the assistance we got, but mostly thankful for the community, man, because they stepped up big, you know, like that was the thing. If there's one thing I can say that I think makes my job so fun and makes it amazing to go to work every day is knowing how much this community has supported us, how much the community loves us, how much the community buys into what we're doing. We work hard every freaking day, man. It's a grind. Every day is a grind. Whether it's prepping food, cleaning up bathrooms, you know, waiting tables, bartending, whatever it is, inventory, you name it. It is a hustle to be out here. And everybody that's in the industry knows it. It's a hard job. It is a hard job. And it is not what it used to be. Help is not what it used to be. Service is not what it used to be. And we did a lot of things to adjust, to keep us going. People pivot. We pivoted digital, outside sales, taco trucks, caterings, you know, finding any revenue stream that we could. And that's where I, you know, hang my hat and saying, you know what, I did that, right? That was something my dad was a part of, but I did that, right? And he helped me get there, and he helped me start this thing. But when a pandemic hits, I'm very thankful that I had him around, and his just non-panic, like just demeanor. Stoic, and just, we're going to be fine. We're going to figure this out. Like, nothing's going to stop us. Just keep going, right? And
he's been there before.
He's been there before. And it was like, okay, we've hit a lot of different things. He's seen a lot of different things. The recession in 2008, right? Just seeing how things played out.
Or just him just getting to LA.
And just getting to LA, you know.
That's right
getting deported probably like 17, 18 times. Coming back from that. Keep coming, you know. Just that mentality, bro, of just never giving up, never resisting. You know, that was something that you never knew that you even had inside of you, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think I could keep. And there's been several times since I opened that restaurant, I was like, no, there's no way I'm coming back from this. There's no way. Like, we're done. Like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm done with it. It's over, right? But we just keep coming back. We keep coming back, and it's a credit to my staff. They build me up when I'm down. You know, we have a good culture. We have a good environment. We lift each other up, right? Because we're smaller now. It's like, dude, when I first started this thing, we had probably close to 25, 30 employees. Now there's maybe 12 of us. Yeah. And we run and we do the same amount of work that 25, 30 people used to do. So it's a credit to them, you know, and the ability to pivot, the ability to want to do anything to help, right? That's a huge thing that you don't see every day. And so, you know, oftentimes when we're hiring now, it's like, are they our kind of guy? Are they the kind of people we want in the building? Because anybody can cook. Anybody can learn to cook. Anybody can learn to serve tables. Anybody can learn to bartend. Yep. It's about, do you have the charisma? Do you have the humility? Do you have the work ethic? Because, you know, for us, we hang ourselves in my restaurant. It's about the people, the process, and the product, right? I got to have the people. The process is there to produce the product that I already have, right? And the product is gold. But if I don't got the people, what does it matter, right? Yeah. So that's what's really unique about our situation. And a lot of people ask me, you know, what separates us from other restaurants, and I say, it's our authenticity, man. It's who we are. Like, you come in the door, Terrell, and it's like, you already know who we are. Like, there's no gimmicks, right? You asked me about specials earlier. We don't do specials. We're not gimmicky. We're not trying to, you know, sell you something that, oh, okay, every day or is, enchilada Wednesday or, whatever it is. We're not gimmicks like that. We're like, come in, have what you want. It's going to be good. It's going to be good, because we're that kind of people. We put in that much work, and we take pride in our job. We work really, really hard every day. Every person in my staff, everybody in my family, we have 2 locations, 3 taco trucks. We're rolling, dude. We're trying real hard every single day. And it's not always easy, man. I show up some days, taco truck events by myself because homeboy didn't show up, or, waiter didn't show up, or cook didn't show up. So I'm in the kitchen grinding. I'm waiting tables. I'm bartending.
Work still got to get done.
It's still got to get done, and you can't shy away from it. And you can get mad if you want, but then you got another job, dude. You got to try to get happy. But at the end of the day, you're blessed you have that work, man. And I always say, it's nobody's got it better than me, man. Nobody's got it better than my family. Nobody's got it better than us, for sure. Everybody else has to go work for somebody else. We get to work for us. We get to work for our terms, Like, I get to do what I want to do. And that's amazing. And that's what my dad set up for us. And that's what's the coolest part about my life, is that I'm in a position right now where people look at me and say, oh, you're successful, or you've done this, or you've done that. And I go, yeah, but we did it together, right? Like my sister, my brother, my mom, and my dad. People try to split us up. People try to make us, fight each other. People try to do all these different things. And at the end of the day, we're still really close, man.
That's dope. For real. That's a really good story to know. I mean, your dad came here and he started it, and he's trying to let you guys take over what, he started. And although you was fighting it for so long, you caved in. But it's more like you said that early in the stage, the restaurant needed you, but now you needed the restaurant. You had a choice to kind of pick between gonna go play football and then that liquor license being in Meridian. It's like, oh my God, like you said, why now? Like, it's route A or route B, and family, or, picking a route, which ultimately is something that you wanted to do with sports and everything like that. And you had to make a choice, and one thing I know about, a lot of the Mexican culture is that family is everything. La familia is, is everything. So you, from my eyes, you definitely stepped up and, took over, because I think that is amazing. I think that is amazing, because I left everything I knew in New York and came to Idaho, so it was leaving all my family. So I can kind of understand where I do get homesick, but my best decision for myself was to, but what can we see from El Gallo Giro Head in the nearby future? I know you do catering events, so if people wanted to contact you for some catering events, private parties and stuff like that, how can we get that?
You can email me at gallogiroMeridian@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. That way I can keep track and we can email you back. Basically, it's just about contacting us. And if I got the date available, and then it's just about what you're looking for. For us, El Gallo Giro is, I was telling my brand manager this the other day. Right now, the focus is to remind people that we're here, right? Like, we've been here for 26 years. A lot of people moved in.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing really good with their marketing. A lot of people putting out there a lot of good stuff, right? And the Latino community has seen Mexican food in Idaho. There's all these different concepts now. You have Amano out in Caldwell, who's doing, stuff that's being mentioned in the New York Times. He's winning, a chef award and doing high-end Mexican food, right? You have taco trucks out there doing amazing things because they're, hustling and they're grinding and they're doing the work that, you love to see people do, and they deserve all the credit in the world for that. But we're a Gallo Giro, bro. Like, we've been here for 26 years, right? We're a local family. I went to school here. I went to Summerwin Elementary School. I went to Lowell Scott Middle School. I went to Bishop Kelly High School. This is my town.
Stomping grounds.
This is where I grew up, man, and these are my people, and this community has meant a lot to us. You know, we've won Boise Best several times. We put up a lot of banners, and so it's about reminding people that we're still here, man. It's about, you know, getting that brand awareness out there again, because, you know, we were here before the internet was here, Jarrell. You know, like, that's what people don't realize. We were here before Y2K. We were here before all of the apps, before all of the marketing, before TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. We were here before all of it, bro. We're the Napster of this shit, right? We started this stuff, and it's important for people to remember that. Like, you don't get to be 26 years old, you know, you don't just get to do that, you know. You don't get to wake up and have a business and say, hey, we're 26, right? It takes 26 years to get there. Yeah. We've seen it all. We've done it all. So I expect great things from us, man. We're going to continue to produce great food, great service. We're still going to continue to lean on our people, our product, and our process. Yes. Right? We're going to have events coming up starting in 2024 every Thursday or the last Thursday of every month. We're going to team up with Tito's, and we're doing Give Back Thursdays with our Loteria Night. Okay. We were able to donate $750 to the Women's and Children's Alliance this last Loteria Night because we're looking to give back to this community that we grew up in and has supported us, that has given us the success that we've had, right? And so my mission, you know, is to carry my dad's legacy, to carry El Gallo Giro to that next level, so that it's here another 26 years, you know, and you come back in 26 years, we sit down again, I'll tell you I made it. Right now, I still got a lot of work to do, Jarrell. You know, we're not there yet, you know. We're still building this thing. You know, the foundation's there, but I'll be damned if we let it fall. You know, it's like this stuff is hard to do, and we're lucky to have what we have. And there's other projects that we're looking at. There's other opportunities that have come to us, and we evaluate everything as it comes. But, you know, we're really excited about the future of El Gallo Giro. We're really excited about what we can produce for this community. We're really excited about what people really like, you know, and what this community really wants. And that's just authenticity. No gimmicks, you know, none of this, just straight up who we are, right? When you come into our restaurant, you know, you're going to get people that work hard every single day to produce the best quality food and give you the best service we can. We're not always 100% on it, man, but we are 99.9% on it. And that's what we strive for. And that's the guarantee. You know, that's the standard, and that's what we're trying to uphold.
That's the foundation.
That's it, man.
That's the foundation your dad set, and that's the foundation you're carrying on. You're building on that foundation, and I like that. Well, if anyone wants tacos, you can visit his location adjacent to the village off of Eagle Road in Fairview. El
Gallo Giro.
See, I don't got that.
Gallo Giro.
Yeah, Gallo Giro. It's okay. It's all right. Everyone is amateur hour over here. So, or if you're in Garden City off of Glenwood.
Off of Glenwood and Chinnan, across from Expo, Idaho.
Which is your original location. That's been there for years.
1997, August 1997. We've been there. You know, come try the best Mexican food in the Valley, man. You won't be disappointed. Yeah. I guarantee it.
And let me tell you, them birria tacos, they ain't nothing to play with. They are nothing to play with. I'm Mr. Birria man myself. Well, thank you for stopping by and giving us great insight, history on yourself and your family's upbringing with El Gallo Giro. Hopefully I said it right. It was truly an honor to really hear all of that stuff and what your dad been through, the obstacles he's been through, and very similar ones that you're going through and ones that you're going to overcome. I think that is really good. I appreciate you for stopping by.
We appreciate you having us, man. It's been a blessing. Like I said, man, it's cool to know you, Jarrell. It's awesome that we go way back. It's cool to see you doing great things. If you don't know about Jarrell Benitez, you should.
Yeah, and maybe I'll talk on my last name maybe a little bit later. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you. This is Rel Up the Hill. Stay tuned for the next episode. I will have your social medias and everything in the link, so click the links below and the website below to see who El Gallo Giro is.
Absolutely. Much love, you guys.
Thank you.
Baby, I come from the low. Tell me where you from. Baby, I come from the low.